Thanks for choosing to download this Late Night Linux Family podcast. We're only able to do this because of the people who support us. None of our shows are paywalled, but our Patreon supporters can get most episodes early and never hear any ads. Learn more at latenightlinux.com/support or support us by telling a friend or colleague about everything we do. Hello and welcome to episode 385 of Late Night Linux, recorded on the 4th of May 2026. I'm Joe, and with me are Phelim.
How's it going?
Graham.
Hello.
And Will.
Hello.
Let's start with some discoveries then. Will, Vox type.
A little while ago, I spoke about how I thought that typing was going to be old-fashioned before too long. And I got a few emails from people suggesting various alternatives to typing, various voice recognition systems. And the one that I am currently trialing is Vox type. And it has stuck on my machine for probably about 6 weeks now without me getting fed up with it. So it's doing something right. It did take quite a lot of getting set up. And
Sorry, I can't hear you. I'm typing on my lovely mechanical keyboard.
Well, just try it, honestly. It does take a bit of faff to get set up and a lot of systemd fiddling and bits and bobs. But the nuts and bolts of it are that it is an AI model, runs locally on your GPU. I think it runs on the CPU anyway, but if you've got an Intel machine, it will run on the Intel GPU quite happily. It uses hardly any overhead at all. So on my machine now, I can press and hold down the scroll lock key, which otherwise is wasted, and I can talk at it at a pretty good pace, and I can spell it out by letter if it's an acronym, and it works. It doesn't do punctuation. So if you say open brackets, close brackets, it just types those words for you, which is a bit annoying. But the gist of it is that if I'm writing something on Slack now, and I think, oh, good, I cannot be bothered to type this out, I just press and hold down the scroll lock key, blah, 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 blah. It's probably got about a 2 or 3 minute buffer, which is plenty. And then you wait, sometimes quite a long time, like maybe 10 seconds or something like that. And then the text just gets pasted in. I think it gets added to your clipboard. There's choices anyway. You can add it to your clipboard. On Wayland, it won't add it to the copy paste buffer. It will just type it in for you, or the other way around. I don't know. Anyway, it works fine on Wayland. It is a very useful toy, and I thought it was going to get boring and I would stop using it, and I haven't. So I'm more convinced than ever that typing is old-fashioned now, and voice is where it's at.
You sicken me.
It's funny. I've tried these kind of things in the past because in theory it would make my life a lot easier, but I just can't get my thoughts together when I'm actually dictating things. Maybe that is probably why I ended up, trying to become a writer, because it allows me to have long pauses while I think and type and then correct. I've just not been able to get it to work from my way of thinking.
What's wrong with voice messages? That's what I say. I'm just going to send you all voice messages and fucking annoy you.
Oh, Jesus.
If your voice messages can be transcribed automatically to text, that's fine. Do that.
Graham, you've been playing tennis.
So I do a surprising amount with a huge list of comma-separated values, CSV files, or just the output of things that are just a load of numbers that would ideally be lined up in columns. Boring text files that I've had to parse manually or use Vim and use my regular expressions to make sense out of.
Just open it in LibreOffice. Job done.
Yeah, that's true. It would take me 20 minutes to install it and for it to start. Tennis is just a command line utility for making CSV files very pretty. That's basically what it is. And I have used it and it looks great. And it's useful for visualizing the output of things that I'm messing around with.
So in the screenshot, it looks like a kind of TUI, like a terminal interface. Can you get it to output into something that is more portable than that?
I haven't tried that. I do actually use a tool to copy and paste from the terminal to create Markdown from that output. So I have used that, but I've not looked to see if there's like a Markdown table output, which would be really nice for this.
Could you pipe it to something?
Yeah, you could. I've not tried that, but in theory, you're right. But I copy and paste the output into something that formats the output as Markdown, which is what I then use in documentation, which saves a ton of time.
Right.
Looking at the man page right now, it doesn't look like there is output support. But It does support all kinds of other input values rather than just CSV files, which is good.
Right, because it's all coloured as well, by the looks of things.
Yeah. It's a simple tool. It's something that I'd looked for before, and I hadn't found anything that did quite the same thing, even close to being the same thing. So I'm glad it's been built. I don't want you to look at the contributors list in GitHub, though.
I was just about to do that, actually. Is there anyone I've blocked, perhaps, who might have contributed to this?
I'm sure they couldn't turn it off. Like Copilot adding itself to all contributions in GitHub. It was just a mistake.
Oh, yeah. A user you've blocked has previously contributed to this repository, Claude. Funny that. Phelim, Tooler.
So we had someone write into us, Morgaze, I think was the name, or I'm probably pronouncing it terrible and I apologize. But yes, so this is a cool way if you have a lot of, say, like the previous tennis project wanted to install, but you want to try and keep track of them and update them the way you do with like the likes of apt or whatever. It's quite difficult. So Tooler is quite cool in the fact that you can provide the command Tooler space run, and then what you do is you provide the username and then the project name with a slash. So for the tennis one, it would be Gurgius/tennis. And then once you do that, it looks for packages available, downloads it, keeps track of it. And then when you're running it, you get an update on it, pretty much like you do an apt update. And you can update and maintain the projects that way as well. It's really quite cool. A lot of my previous finds that we've had were basically me downloading a release tarball or the Go binary or whatever the hell it happened to be, and dropping it into user local bin. Whereas this sort of puts a decent sort of way of checking on updates for that. So it's quite cool.
Yeah, it describes itself as a CLI tool manager for GitHub releases written in Rust.
I mean, it's written in Rust. Has to be good.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And so it means that you can manage updates and stuff like that, essentially.
Yeah, and you can do things like Tooler list, and it'll show you all the packages that you've got installed that way. And as you run it, you can say, update, whatever, and it allows you to, you install it into your .bashrc, so it knows how to understand it. So I can type tennis right now, even though previously all I did was type Tooler run the tennis project, but now I have available to me in my command line. So it's quite cool.
Very nice. Will, Sonoff NS Panel Pro Gen 2. What on earth is this?
I think it is every home automation nerd's dream to have a tablet or a screen on the wall that allows them quick and easy access to interface with their smart home. It's fine, you can do it on your phone, but what you really want is a kind of a small screen somewhere that everybody can interact with. I bought the previous generation of this, the NS Panel Pro, a few years ago, and it's effectively I think 4 or possibly 5-inch square Android tablet, and it fits in a standard UK or European size 1-gang back box. They do have a US format, but I haven't tried that one. And it just sits on the wall and it plugs into the mains, and it's an Android tablet. It's a little bit underpowered, and a lot of them, well, there were 2 variants previously. One which ran Linux, which was unflashable. You couldn't do a thing with it. And one which ran Android, which with a certain amount of faffing around, you could replace the browser to a more modern version of Chrome, and you could change the standard web view to be this custom APK that you had to install via ADB and all of this stuff. And it was a faff, but it worked, and it continues to work. But they have taken some feedback on board, and they're producing a version 2 of the product, which is Android and comes with F-Droid. So now, if you want to stick Home Assistant on it, all you need to do is go into the F-Droid App Store, download the Home Assistant app, and you're done. So it couldn't be easier. It's got a whole bunch of extra hardware in there. There's relays for turning lights on and off. There's an improved Zigbee radio in there, there's Matter support, and a whole bunch of other stuff which will probably never get used. But the really easy thing is that you can stick Home Assistant on it straight from a store, no mucking about, and it will be, I hope, very good. Now, all of this is on spec because it doesn't exist yet. In fact, it's not being released for another 40 days. But I have ordered one, even though I said I wasn't going to, and as soon as it arrives, I'll plug it in and we'll take it for a spin. Somewhat disappointingly, it only has 2 gig of RAM, which is the same as the previous version. That is its biggest weakness. But I think, you can imagine why it's only got 2 gig of RAM at the moment. If it had had 4, it would have been an absolute no-brainer. But it's got more storage on board. Don't really need that. It's got a slightly faster processor, I think, but we'll see. But it should be decent. I'm looking forward to playing with it.
And how much did you actually pay for this? Because it says £106.59 plus shipping.
Shipping was free when I ordered, and it's being shipped from a UK warehouse, so it should be here pretty quickly.
Hang on, it should be here pretty quickly for a thing that's not made yet.
I hope it will be here on day 0 of the pre-order, but we'll see.
I think you're very optimistic.
Can you replace a thermostat with this, with the same thermostat power and control signals that you find in like a British home?
Probably. The typical thermostat wiring, if it's older than about 2010, possibly, it was around that time that they swapped from having a pair of wires that went from the thermostat in your room to the boiler, and when that thermostat clicked off, it would just cut the power. So it wasn't really a power feed, it was more a switch on the wall.
Yeah, it's just a switch, isn't it? Live in and then switch live out. So no neutral. So that's not going to work with no neutral.
Exactly. If your house is newer than that, then you've probably got wiring for a Nest thermostat.
Yeah.
And so it will probably work. Also, although it is only a switched live and a live that go to your switch, if they pulled it in Twin and Earth, which they probably did, you can disconnect it from your heating wiring center and reconnect it to main and mains neutral and live and Earth and plug it in. So it's a bit of a faff, get an electrician to do it, but it probably can be done without too much destruction.
I like that because I have thermostats in places where a small screen like this would be super handy.
And it's got a built-in relay, so it could also act as a thermostat with the right software running on it.
And if you want to set your house on fire, you can just use the Earth as neutral instead.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Do that? Okay.
People do it, but you shouldn't. Graham, UADE.
This is a very old project, like 20 years old, the Unix Amiga Deli Tracker emulator. I've been listening to a lot of Amiga music recently on my Amiga, but my Amiga is actually quite noisy. The audio output's noisy. And so I was looking at a way of listening to some of those tracks on my Linux machine. I've never used this before. Remarkably, it's the whole Amiga emulator, UAE, embedded within a music tracker, which may be a little bit wasteful, but it plays Amiga audio tracks brilliantly as a result. So, yeah, if you want to listen to some original old school Amiga tracks, I highly recommend it.
So we're sitting here with a document full of AI stories that are important and we should talk about them, but I feel like I am burnt out on this and don't want to talk about it. The audience knows, we all know where we all stand on this, and it's getting tiresome. I fully appreciate that. But when John Seeger, the guy who's basically in charge of Ubuntu, comes out with the future of AI in Ubuntu, I feel like we've got to talk about that. It's important. But at the same time, I kind of don't want to. Sorry to get all meta about this, but here we are. So I suppose let's try and talk about it. The future of AI in Ubuntu.
Yeah, maybe we could talk about this first and then talk about what it is that you feel is uncomfortable about these kind of stories.
Well, it's not uncomfortable. It's just boring. It's just the same shit over and over again. It's me and Phelim are just going to say, fuck Ubuntu for doing this. And you two are just going to be apologists and say, oh, well, what choice have they got?
I might not have said that.
All right, yeah, okay. So presumably you're really happy then, Phelim, that over the next sort of 6 months, they're going to incorporate loads of AI features into Ubuntu and they're going to do it sensitively and, they're going to go for local inference where possible and, open weights models where possible. So you're really enthusiastic then, yeah?
Well, okay. Well, let's see what he said, right? He said they're going to do that and they're going to do it as snaps. So it's not a opt-out. It's more opt-in. There are supposedly modules that can go in. There's no global way to turn it off, but equally you would have to then enable the thing that you wanted. I think I am realistic enough to say that, shock horror, it's everywhere, because Will did link to an article about the LLM spending and it is just unsustainable madness. But what do you do as a tech company who's providing a way to reach that stuff? I am glad I am not part of that. I just can sidestep it. But, yeah, if you're the likes of Canonical or Red Hat or whatever, I mean, it clearly is just the thing you have to do for this period of time while those companies still exist and haven't gone bust.
Well, I disagree on that.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable point to make, but I just don't think you can make that choice unless you're an Apple. You know, Apple got to be able to be the ones who said, oh, there's no DRM in our songs, and then just gave two fingers to the music industry. What the fuck can you do? It's an epidemic, and I mean that in the full virus sense of the word. It is an epidemic.
Pandemic.
It is yes, thank you. It's a pandemic. I think the way he's written it is fine. I didn't like the bit about the going out to servers and doing stuff across a fleet of servers, because that is a deterministic issue, and you know that is turning stuff off the way you want it to. So I did disagree with that, but I mean, in general, if it was to go this way, yeah, okay, I guess that's it. I'm defeated.
Well, I'm not. I can't believe that. I cannot believe that you're defeated and I'm not. I think that Canonical and Ubuntu could stand up and say, no, fuck this shit. We're going to be ethical. We're not going to do it. We're going to take a stand against this, and we're not going to bow to the pressure. I understand that like customers want it and all the rest of it, and snaps is definitely the way to do it because snaps are really easy to completely remove. And it also means that downstream distros, Linux Mint, for example, can just not have anything to do with this. So I'm very grateful that that is the plan, and that snaps are like, you know, these isolated things that you can just completely get rid of. But then I read a sentence in this. AI is not going to take software engineering jobs at Canonical, but other software engineers who are highly competent with AI tools certainly could. That is just classic NVIDIA Jensen Huang bullshit. That is like just proper Kool-Aid drinking bullshit from John, frankly. And I don't like it one bit. But again, we're straying into just the usual fucking argument, aren't we?
This is difficult because I probably shouldn't be commenting on this story at all. But I thought it was quite a balanced post, and there's nothing going to be forced on you as a user of Ubuntu in the same way that you would with other operating systems. So why can't a company like Canonical try and position itself for all users of its operating system without limiting its potential or without damaging its potential as a modern day operating system?
Why doesn't an operating system that is open source and therefore inherently an ethical thing, why can't they just incorporate the torment nexus into it? You know, it's a fucking unethical plagiarism machine. And you know, environment, blah, 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 all the shit that we've fucking ranted about. Oh, well, everyone else is doing it, so fuck it. We may as well do it.
Look, I can't say, but a post like this is to say that a company like Canonical is positioning itself to be a platform for people that use it in that way. Otherwise, people are going to use other platforms. And so it becomes out of the picture. Also, it's a fair point that you said that you can remove snaps completely. But I think it's also fair to say that if you don't choose to install any of the LLM snaps, it's not going to touch your system at all. That's the great thing about snaps.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he does also talk about how people within Canonical are going to be encouraged to experiment with using AI shit for the development and all the rest of it. So that's inevitable. We've talked about that.
You could say that's better the devil you know.
Well, maybe.
I think the way he describes AI adoption at Canonical is like the most measured, calm response to any questions I've seen of engineering teams being tasked with using more AI. This is the most open source ethos correct way of doing things that I've read about. People aren't going to be rated on exactly how much AI that they are using. And I think from a developer's point of view, and certainly from John's point of view, you've got two choices. You don't go and allow your teams to use AI and everybody in the world does, or you do allow them to use it in the way that makes sense. And if you're in the security team, for example, at Canonical, and you're dealing with dozens of new zero-day exploits that are coming out because Anthropic's new model is spotting all of these bugs in the kernel that didn't exist previously, and you're responsible for trying to mitigate them, you better hope you've got AI to help you keep up with it, because otherwise you're just going to drown. So I think that this is a very pragmatic approach, and as we've established, nobody is having this forced upon them. And that is the most open source friendly message that I've seen.
Well, I installed Debian on the machine for the first time in a long time yesterday. I'm not saying like, oh, that's it, I'm done, I'm moving, but I'm investigating Debian now.
And then what are you going to do after Debian move over to use it?
Throw all my computers in the river.
But it does feel a bit like that, though. That's why I've like, if this is their pitch in that thing, it's better than the Red Hat one.
Oh yeah,
because Red Hat was saying we've all got to use it and you're all going to do it like this, and that is shit, and nobody should have to fucking deal with that crap in their workplace. It's effectively bullying. It's like, you'll use the tool and you'll like it. It's like, fuck off. But like, looking at that thing that Will had sent, it is effectively like protection racketeering.
Yeah, so to be clear, this is the Pulse newsletter, and it's called Token Spend Breaks Budgets, What Next? And it is this guy, George Oros, talking to various people at companies of various sizes. And it kind of breaks it down like, this is a 10,000 person SaaS company, or, this is a smaller company. And doesn't quite quote people and definitely doesn't attribute anything. But it's, he's spoken to a lot of people, and it's about how much they're spending on AI. And it is fucking eye-watering.
And the problem is it's going up. And those companies are now going to start gouging. Well, gouging is the wrong word, because they're actually under gouging, whatever that would be called. But they are now going to have to start approaching paying normal amounts of money for those things. And in which case, either those companies are going to get crucified by doing that, or beaten by their competitor who happens to have a fractionally larger wallet, or the companies providing the service are going to go bust. And in that type of environment where it's just a mad race to the bottom, as in the bottom of your bank account, I don't see anybody being able to withstand this.
Yeah, when the VC people want their money back from the likes of Anthropic and OpenAI, these companies who are currently spending, $1,000+ per developer per month or week or whatever, they are going to find themselves in a situation where that bill goes up and up and up, to the point where it either bankrupts the company who is the customer of Anthropic, or they stop paying, go back to doing it the old-fashioned way, or use local models or whatever, and Anthropic goes bust. I suppose the argument is live in the moment. This thing is available now, and it sort of makes sense financially for companies to do it, but there's no way that this works out long-term. Like, it's not sustainable.
So that's my point. My point is the fact that the companies providing the servers are doing so at such a loss. It's off the charts how much of a loss they are making. That was my big point last week, where it wasn't the determinism that was the problem. It was the finances of it. It makes no sense. They are spending like 90 times more than what they're getting back in revenue. And that's not going to keep going. And equally, companies who are paying this much money balked at buying fucking Adobe software every month on purchase, let alone what this crazy shit is. So this is not going to keep going. It just isn't. So this is going to go away. And if we can get Canonical to weather this in a way that is not as offensive for you and me, Joe, and keeps people who want to be doing this happy, then that's the best we can get, I think.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. And, it is encouraging that John is talking about local inference where possible, because then you are not completely outsourcing the means of production. I mean, that is something that I think is really important. Like, as a developer, it used to be that all you needed really was a text editor or your basic IDE, and you could create things and get paid to create them. So you effectively owned the means of production. Not wanting to sound like some sort of extreme leftist or anything, but right now, if you are using the likes of Anthropic's tools, Claude Code and all the rest of it, you do not own the means of production. And that's not a good situation to be in. If you don't own your own tools, then what the fuck are you doing?
100%.
And so, yeah, that local inference, the models are out there, and open weights and all the rest of it. There are going to be, when Anthropic goes bust, when OpenAI goes away, there will be models out there. And if you can run it on your own hardware, then, they weren't trained in the most ethical way necessarily. Probably almost certainly not. But if you can run them on a machine on your LAN, or, in a data center that you are controlling, then you're not going to be completely fucked, are you? Whereas if you are relying on these big companies, then you are going to be completely fucked. And speaking of these big companies, the other one that I wanted to touch on was Anthropic joins the Blender Development Fund as a corporate patron. And then Blender pretty quickly backtracked on that and said, no, it's just a one-off payment.
Take the fucking money now while the check still cashes.
Yeah, that was my reaction, honestly, about it. Like, it is dirty money, but at the same time, if that money can be put to good use, then, take it. Why not? But a lot of people don't agree with that, seemingly.
I agree with you here. I think take the money while it's there because it might not be there for much longer. I think that this is a very sensible thing to do. It will sponsor a lot of development. It will help a lot of developers working on Blender to make progress. So take it while the going's good.
Take it as long as there are no catches to it.
Yeah.
As long as they don't expect you to do X, Y, and Z for it. If they just want to cut you a check and there's no contract and there's no expectation, not even a verbal thing of, oh, well, we want you to do X, Y, and Z. If it is just, here's some money, keep doing what you're doing, then you'd be a fucking idiot to not take it, wouldn't you?
Mm.
And that's the capitalist side of me coming out. So what do we do about these AI stories? Do we keep discussing them? Do we just fucking ignore them? Like, is it tiresome? It feels tiresome to me.
It depends if it's newsworthy or not, I think. And I think that a company adopting AI is not newsworthy anymore. I think that is the norm now, right? So if it's out of the ordinary or it's interesting or it's new, then it's worth talking about. Because I'm sure you'll be very excited to talk about the imminent demise of OpenAI, for example. So I don't think we can say we're not talking about AI stories anymore.
I wish to subscribe to your newsletter. When does this happen?
I called it for Q1 this year, but looks like I was wrong on that one, eh?
I agree with Will. I think it's important what's happening, and I think we should talk about it. I think it's important for the future of open source and for Linux. But I think you're right, Joe. I think we should talk about it carefully when we do talk about it and try and talk about it in a unique way that isn't the same way that we have been talking about it or the way that it lends itself to being talked about. We should try and talk about it in terms of, for me, in terms of what we can do about it, what we can do to mitigate its effects or how we can help open source and Linux in dealing with this.
Well, let us know what you think. Some of you have already said this is getting tiresome, so do let us know, I suppose. How should we talk about it? Should we talk about it? Should we stop talking about it? I don't know. I'm at a loss, to be honest, and I find it very draining, and I'm very much burnt out on this whole thing. I'm just really down about it. I just don't like it. I don't like that. Will, you're right. It's not news that John has come out and said this, that we're going to put AI shit into Ubuntu. It's not news. It should be, but it's not. And I don't like that. So yeah, let us know.
Maybe we should do an episode without Joe. That'd be crazy, wouldn't it? The three of us saying what we really think.
I'll edit it. It'll be brilliant.
Maybe Graham could edit it and then it'll be great like his old podcast used to be.
It'll be certainly better than what I do anyway, that's for sure. Oh, sorry, I can't hear those frequencies. Fuck.
We'll get AI to edit it.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
I think that AI is really great.
Right, well, we'd better get out of here then. We'll be back next week when who knows what it'll be. But until then, I've been Joe.
I've been Phelan.
I've been Graham.
And I've been Will.
See you later.